Hey everyone, it's Brandy and welcome back to my channel, Brandy Janae's Bookshelf. Today I'm going to be doing the 2018 end of the year survey. I actually filmed this video already, but when I went to go edit it, there was some issues with the audio. There was like static that was throughout the entire video, and at first I thought maybe it was just a little bit and I was gonna just post it, but after like going through footage and kind of cutting through different times of it, it was like throughout it and it was really irritating me, so I decided not to use that footage. Hopefully it's not doing the same thing, because I don't know if that was a mic issue. Maybe it could have possibly been the way that I had the cord for that connects the mic to the camera, or it also could have been because I had been filming so many videos a day and maybe my camera was just like, you know, you're doing too much, you need to stop. So hopefully it's not an issue anymore, and you know, it's perfectly fine today, because all my other videos that I had filmed that day were fine, and I think that was this video that I tried to film before was the last one that I had did last time. So anyway, like I said, I'm rambling on, and we're just gonna try, or I'm gonna try to film this again. Like I said before, in this video I am doing the 2018 end of the year survey. This was created by a blogger, Jamie, over at the Perpetual Page Turner. I will leave the link to this specific post of hers, the end of the year survey, if you guys want to check it out. Let's get into it, because I feel like I just spent a minute rambling on about stuff that wasn't important. So I have printed this out, so if I'm looking down, this is what I'm looking at. So this was split up into a few different sections. There was a small reading stat section at the top. Then we have a best in books, and there is a blogging / bookish life, and then there is a small section at the end for looking ahead. So I am doing everything but the blogging and bookish life section. I looked through some of the questions, and some of them I felt like I could have done, but most of them I just really did not feel like answering, so I decided to just skip that one. So getting right into the bookish stats, the first one was number of books you read, and I read 131 books in 2018. The next question in the stats section was number of rereads, and if I calculated this right, I had 15 books that I reread. And then the last section in the stats part of it says genre you read the most from. I put romance as my most read genre. Moving into the first big section, which like I said is best in books, and there are 30 questions in this one. I'm gonna try not to get too much into like little details about all of this, because I don't want this video to be super long like it was the first time I filmed it. So let's just get into it. Number one is best book you read in 2018. For this one I had two different answers, because I just could not choose between the two of these. And even though I think the ratings were different, I think one I gave a 4.5 stars and one I gave it 5 stars, but looking back at it, I really enjoyed both of them for the most part. And both of these will show up multiple times throughout this video, so just be aware of that. The first one that I'm going to talk about is The Poet-X by Elizabeth Acevedo. This book was just absolutely amazing. I ended up listening to the audiobook for this one, and the audiobook was read by Elizabeth Acevedo. If you did not know, this entire book is told in poetry or verse, however you want to say that. And it was really nice to be able to hear the way that the author wanted this to be read specifically, and I felt like listening to the audiobook really added an extra level to this story that I feel like you could get, but hearing her speak the story was just something else added onto my reading experience, and it was just absolutely amazing. I'm pretty sure I gave this one a 5 out of 5 stars. And then the other book that was my favorite of 2018 was Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson. This is a book I gave a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I have a discussion video on this one if you guys are interested in seeing me talk more about this, but I enjoyed this, but there was a twist at the end that I just wasn't a fan of, which is why I took off that 0.5 stars. But everything else in the story was just absolutely amazing. It's something that I've never thought about, and I feel like that was the point of the story, is because it's stuff that most people don't think about, but it's something that people should be thinking about. And I feel like I'm just saying stuff in a circle, but I don't want to give anything away. This is just absolutely amazing. It made me think a lot, and this was a heartbreaking read for me. So this will, like I said, come up again in multiple answers, so be looking for this one. Number 2 was a book you were excited about and thought you were going to love more but didn't. And for this one, I have 3 different books to talk about. And before I start talking about these aren't in really any specific order. I'm just picking them up by how I have them stacked up next to me. So the first one that I have is The Wicked Deed by Shay Earnshaw. I picked this one up because there was a ton of hype surrounding this one. I don't think I would have picked it up. I did see the cover and I really liked the cover. I'm not sure how well my camera is picking it up, but I think you can kind of see it from what I'm seeing in my viewfinder, but it's kind of holographic. So I picked this up. I was really excited about it. A story about witches in a small town, and the story just sounded really interesting. But almost immediately, I realized that it might not be the type of book for me. It was a little slow. There were things that I wasn't the biggest fan of. And then it was just the way the story was told. It just wasn't the right fit type of story for me. And I just did not end up loving this as much as a lot of people did. The next book that also fits into this category is The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert. This is another one that was super hyped up. However, this one I got in an OwlCrate box. So I probably would not have picked this one up if it did not come in an OwlCrate box. I did not like this because I felt like it was trying to do too much. And the last book that I have for this section is A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas. This is book 3.5 in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. Basically, to say why I had a problem with this is to say what this book was supposed to be. So when they started talking about this novella, it was marketed as a novella that was supposed to be a bridge in between the first part of the series and the last section of the series, since it was announced that 3 more books were going to be coming out in this series. So like I said, this was marketed as pretty much a bridge book, or a bridge novella is the best way to say that. So I went into this thinking that it was going to be a certain thing, and while there were certain aspects of it, like little sprinklings on the end of what it was marketed as, the majority of this novella was nothing of what they said it was going to be. So pretty much, if you have not already heard everyone griping about this, it's pretty much a novella about the characters kind of settling back into life after this war that happened in A Court of Wings and Ruin. Basically, in this section or in this part of their lives, they're getting ready for Christmas. They're trying to heal and find their way back to who they are or who they want to be after this war. And we get to see that through them prepping for what is basically known to us as Christmas, and shopping for gifts and all of these things. And I was one of those people who didn't hate it. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars, but there were some things that I just felt really uncomfortable with, and some things that I just felt like were unnecessary, considering that this was like a full hardcover book that was about 20 bucks that they probably could have just sold as an ebook novella for a couple of dollars. They probably could have pushed it back till around Christmas time, where it would have made a lot more sense for this to be put out, because this was put out around the same time that the books in the series had been put out in previous years. So it just, like, the timeline that it was put out, the way it was marketed, and what was actually given to us was just really disappointing from what I was expecting. My favorite part of it, I think, was not even actually the actual novella. We get a sneak peek into the next book at the end of the novella, and that was my favorite part of the entire thing. And it wasn't technically part of, the actual story that I paid for. It was just an extra item. So that what made me so upset about it, because I was just like, I paid all of this money, and yeah, we get a pretty cover, but I feel like besides we're paying for a pretty cover and author's name at that point. So yeah, I didn't hate this as much as a lot of people did, but I did not think this was nearly as good as I was expecting it to be. Number 3 is most surprising book you read, and this can be either in a good way or a bad way. For this one, I decided to go with People Like Us by Dana Malay. I'm not exactly sure if that's how you say the author's name. This is a YA mystery thriller following a teenage girl. I think she is 16 or 17, and she is a scholarship student at this boarding school, I'm pretty sure. And at the beginning of the book, she is with some of her friends, and they find this dead body at the school, and turns out it's one of the students. And she gets this email from the dead girl with this pretty much scavenger hunt trying to figure out who killed the girl, and it was like a whole big extravaganza. Or yeah, that's probably exaggerating just a bit, but yeah, I found this kind of predictable because I guess pretty early on who the person that was behind everything was. I wasn't completely sure until a certain point that was before it was revealed, like a good chunk before it was revealed. But I was still questioning for a little bit there. I was just shocked about how much I enjoyed this, and because I don't read a lot of mystery thrillers. They're not usually my thing, but this was surprisingly really good, and I'm really happy that I picked it up. And I don't know if it's one that I'll ever reread because obviously, you know, I know what happened, but it was pretty good. And like I said, I'm surprised by how much I enjoyed this one. Number 4 is book you push the most people to read, and they did. This one I'm not too sure about because I feel like I talk about books, but I don't do a lot of pushing people to read books. So if there are any books that you picked up because I talked about them and like highly suggested them, let me know so I can see, you know, what you guys have been interested in based off of my opinion on them. And I'm gonna move on to the next one. Number 5 is best series you started in 2018, best sequel of 2018, and best series ender of 2018. So starting with best series I started in 2018, I'm gonna have to go with Trail of Lightning by Rebecca Roanhorse. For the best sequel that I read in 2018, I had to go with A Duke by Default by Alyssa Cole. This is the second book in the Reluctant Royal series. And for best series ender of 2018, I had to go with Obsidio by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. Number 7 was book from a genre you don't typically read / was out of your comfort zone. And for this one, I have 2 books. They were both technically like the same genre. The first one that I have is People Like Us by Dana Malay, which I just talked about a few questions ago. And then also Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson. Like I said, both of these were mystery thriller novels, and yeah, both out of my comfort zone. Actually ended up enjoying both of them. It looks like I just skipped a question, which was number 6, and that is favorite new author you discovered in 2018. And for this one, I can also have 2 options for that one as well. Looks like I actually skipped a question, which was number 6, and that is favorite new author you discovered in 2018. And for this one, I have 2 options for that one as well. So I would either have to go with Alyssa Cole, who I read these 2 books by her in 2018, which was A Princess in Theory and A Duke by Default. Both of these are contemporary romances, and they're part of the same series. Or if you want a new answer, I can also say Janine Frost. I read the first book in this series, which is the Night Prince series. And this first book is Once Burned. I read this one, and then I also read the first 2 books, I believe. First 2 or 3 books in her Night Huntress series. Really enjoy her writing. Definitely looking forward to reading more from her in 2019. Number 8 is most action-packed thrilling, unputdownable book of the year. And for that one, I definitely have to go with Obsidio by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. Number 9 is book you read in 2018 that you would be most likely to reread next year. So this is another one that I have 2 options for. A lot of these I feel like are going to start repeating now, but for that one, I have the first option is the books in the Reluctant Royal series by Alyssa Cole. For sure, probably most likely going to reread in 2019 is Trail of Lightning by Rebecca Roanhorse. The sequel, Storm of Locusts, is coming out in 2019, and this is one that I took a long time to read the first time around, so I definitely want to reread this one and refresh my memory before reading the sequel. Number 10 is favorite cover of a book you read in 2018. And for this one, I picked Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. I just love this cover. I'm not really going to take a whole lot of time to talk about that. Number 11 is the most memorable character of 2018. For this one, I picked Aelin Galathynius. I think I picked this one just because Throne of Glass was one of the last books, you know, the books in the series was one of the last ones that I read at the end of 2018. So that was the last thing that was on my mind. Number 12 is most beautifully written book in 2018. I don't really pay too much attention all the time to not characters, but the writing of a book or the author's writing style. But for that one, I went with Stranger Dreamer by Laini Taylor. Number 13 is most thought-provoking / life-changing book. And we're going to have another repeat here. With that one, I have Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson. This book handles a lot of heavier topics that we don't see often, especially in YA literature, and I think it's something that everyone should read because these are topics that are going on in everyday life, even if it's not something that you're personally affected by or something that someone that you know is personally affected by. There's someone in the world somewhere going through these things right now, and I think it is a good book to open people's eyes and get them thinking about these type of situations and how things can be handled better. Number 14 is a book you can't believe you waited into 2018 to finally read. For this one, once again, I went with Stranger Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I got this book in 2017 in a fairy loot box, and I waited an entire year to read this. I'm sure there are other books I probably could have picked, but this is the one that I was thinking of the most. Number 15 is favorite passage / quote from a book you read in 2018, and I picked something from The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. So if you care about specifics, I picked it from the poem on Poppy on page 65 if you have the hardcover book. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I think once you get to it, once you read it, this whole poem has just like really impactful meaning. But the last 2 lines are like, they really hit me. And it says, just because your father's present doesn't mean he isn't absent. Number 16 is shortest and longest book you read in 2018. For the shortest book, I have Mufaro's Beautiful Daughters by John Steptoe, and this one was 32 pages. Yes, I did count this on my Goodreads reading challenge. My longest book, according to Goodreads, was Empire of Storms by Sarah J. Maas, coming in at 704 pages. Number 17 is book that shocked you the most, and I went with Blood Highway by Gina Walsdorf. I don't want to get into any details because I think this is one that I don't want to give away the shock factor if you're going to go read it, but it went on some levels that I really wasn't expecting, and it honestly made me uncomfortable a lot of times, like way more than I would ever expect from a book. I think I only ended up giving this one a 3.5 stars, but the shock factor for this book was just like over the top. And yeah, like I don't even know what else to say because I don't want to give anything away. Just know I was not prepared for this book at all. Number 18 is OTP of the year. I picked two because I don't know if the first one officially counts, but that is Meg and Simon from the Other series by Anne Bishop. Now, I think this one is kind of like slightly off because it's not technically canon yet at the point that I had read. Even I finished the third book in January when I'm filming this, but it still hasn't like officially happened yet, so I don't know if that technically counts, but it seems like it's going in that direction. So if that ever happens, Meg and Simon. So I'm gonna pick another one because I don't know if that technically counts. My other option is Portia and Tavish McKenzie from A Duke by Default. Never would have thought I would be into a relationship that centers around an older guy character. Something about that used to always creep me out. And reading this book, I was just like, I am here for it. All of this, yes. Yeah, I love them together. Even before they actually got together, I just thought their chemistry was pretty good, or not pretty good, it was amazing. Number 19 is favorite non-romantic relationship of the year, and I actually forgot to take down a copy of this because I did not fully go through my list apparently. But I pretty much just said the friend group from Food Wars. This friendship group and this entire series is just amazing. The way that they interact, they are always there to support each other, but they're also challenging each other, which makes them better as chefs and just brings everyone a lot closer. And the point that they're at in the part of the series that I'm in, it's just like they're all really supporting each other, and it's amazing, and I love them all together. They're just so cute and sweet, and I just hope everything works out in their favor. Number 20 is favorite book you read in 2018 from an author you've read previously. Had a hard time with this one. I felt like I read a lot of new to me authors this year, so I decided to go with Empire of Storms. I blanked, sorry, but I decided to go with Empire of Storms by Sarah J Maas. Number 21 is best book you read in 2018 that you read based solely off a recommendation from, and it has a couple of different options, and I went with Written and Read and Murder of Crows, which I didn't take off the shelf because pretty much just the books that I read in the Other series by Anne Bishop. Number 22 is Newest Fictional Crush from a book you read in 2018. And I don't think I had any fictional crushes. Number 23 is best 2018 debut you read. And I once again went with The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. Number 24 is best world building / most vivid setting you read this year. And Trail of Lightning by Rebecca Brownhorse. I feel like I am pretty bad at imagining what things look like when it comes to books, unless like I'm writing and I'm picturing what it looks like. But when it comes to reading, I feel like I'm terrible at trying to imagine the setting. But for some reason, when it came to this book, like I can see everything unfolding. There were a few things that I just wasn't familiar with, so I couldn't obviously imagine things that I knew absolutely nothing about. But as far as the world and seeing what the actual world looked like, I could pretty much imagine that, and I just thought that was amazing because it's not something that I can normally do. Number 25 is a book that put a smile on your face / was the most fun to read. And I just picked Foolish Hearts by Emma Mills. I thought this was just a really cute contemporary romance. I thought the friendship in this one was really good, which could also go for the question of non-romantic relationship. Thought the friendships in this was good. Even the romance that kind of peeked in here, that was also pretty cute. And it just made me happy, and by the end of this, or at least multiple times throughout the book, I was definitely smiling at it. Number 26 is book that made you cry or nearly cry in 2018. For this one, I have two books that made me cry, and I think I was like bawling in both. And thinking back on it, I actually cried at work while reading both of these, and I think it had a lot to do with the audiobook. So the first one is Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson. I'm not even going to get into this, or really either one of them, because I don't want to spoil anything, but just know I was crying in this book. Yeah, yeah. Also, Obsidio by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I think I actually cried several times in this one. Number 27 is Hidden Gem of the Year. And for this one, I had two different books. I didn't really know which to pick, but I went with Intercepted by Alexa Martin and Angel Fall by Susan E. Number 28 is Book That Crushed Your Soul, and I could have said the two books that made me cry, but for this one I decided to go a slightly different route, and I went with Between the Blade and the Heart by Amanda Hawking. I picked this one because this book was just not the best. It wasn't completely terrible. I just felt like this was like maybe a second or third draft. I feel like it could have gone through so much more editing and been amazing. Number 29, I forgot to take this one out as well, I see, is Most Unique Book You Read in 2018. And for this one, I decided to go with Lifelike by Jay Kristoff. Number 30 is Book That Made You the Most Mad. And it says, doesn't necessarily mean you didn't like it. And for this one, once again, I went with Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson. It made me mad for two reasons. One was the twist. I mentioned earlier I did not like the twist. But mainly it made me mad because there were so many adult figures in this book who could have done something, or they could have tried to do something more than what they did to help in the situation that happened in this book. And so many people disregarded like clear signs, or even like another character vocally asking for help in a certain situation. Like they did not do anything about it, and it just really Okay, so that was all of the best of book section. Now we're gonna move, like I said, I skipped the bookish / blogging life, moving on to the looking ahead section, and there are only 6 questions in this section. Number 1 is one book you didn't get to in 2018 but will be your number 1 priority in 2019. So I decided to keep my same answer for this one, and I went with Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas. This is the 7th and final book in the, ooh, that is so bright. The 7th and final book in the Throne of Glass series. When I filmed this before, I was still currently reading it, but I can now officially say that I'm done with this. It was like my top priority, my number 1 priority, but I did read like a bunch of other books before I actually finished this one. So yeah, but I did finish it. Number 2 is book you are most anticipating for 2019, and this is non-debut novels or non-debut authors, and I have 3 because I couldn't just pick one, of course. The first one is With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo, and I absolutely love this cover. The second one is Prince on Paper by Alyssa Cole. This is book 3 in the Reluctant Royal series. And the third one is Storm of Locusts by Rebecca Roanhorse. This is the second book in, I think it's called the Sixth World series. Number 3 is 2019 debut you are most anticipating. And honestly, for this one, I have not looked up really any debuts for 2019. So if you have any that you're really looking forward to, let me know about those down in the comments so I can go look them up, see if it'd be something that I would be interested in reading. Number 4 is series ending / a sequel you are most anticipating in 2019. And I had to go with Nyxia Uprising by Scott Rankin. This is the 3rd and final book in the Nyxia triad. Number 5 is one thing you hope to accomplish or do in your reading / blogging life in 2019. And for this one, my goal is to reach 1,000 subscribers. I talked about this a little in my goals video. I believe I have had my channel for, I think it's like 3 years now, and I think I just hit 600 like the other day. My numbers have been going up and down, which has been a thing since I pretty much started my channel. So, oh, nope, never mind. This morning I had 602. Now I'm back to 599. So no longer at 600. So scratch that. But yeah, like I was saying, I would like to get to 1,000. Numbers aren't a huge deal for me. It's just something that, like, it's just a goal that I would like to reach for, just to say that I did it pretty much. And number 6, which is the final question for this survey, is a 2019 release you've already read and recommend to everyone. And I actually have not read any 2019 releases yet, so I don't have an answer for that one. That's all I have for you for this video. A couple questions I had was if there's any books that I recommended that you picked up because I recommended. Also, if you have any 2019 debut novels that you are looking forward to, because I don't know of any. I'm sure I know of some, but I haven't really been looking into like debut novels pretty much. Been mostly looking at books from authors that I have already read. Like I said, that's all I have for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you again in the next one. Bye.